Secret texts, twisted views. Time to separate lies from truth. Not here to burn, but here to see what survives when the mind breaks free. Deconstruct, analyze, open hearts, open eyes. If it falls, let it be. What remains is meant to be. Cyber deconstruction, let's get real. Faith when challenge starts to peel. If it's built on solid ground, why is it scared to stand around? Not for hate, but for the wise. Truth won't shatter, only lies. Time to start the conversation. Now ain't the time to pretend nothing happened.
Welcome in, everybody. How is everybody doing? How you doing over on YouTube? How you doing on TikTok? Back-to-back Cyber and Justin cookouts. Absolutely. Let me know if we are hearing echoes or anything. Let me know. How you doing, Jen? How you doing, Konami? How you doing, Tenebris? Dark Eve. Make sure we're checking in with the people over on YouTube. All right, sounds like we are doing good. So tonight's debate is Jesus was a liar and a fraud. Now he's nothing but a carcass. And I'm also going to be introducing something new. So what we will have is, and I'm probably only going to initiate it if I have more than one guest in any given whether it's on Video Ninja or in the box. But what we will be introducing is a timer. So the timer will be for 15 minutes. That way then I can keep moving on. We're not getting sucked into a long debate. And at the end of the 15 minutes, we will knock off a quick poll to see if chats on both. Oh, by accident, turn my camera off. To see if the chats both want to keep the chat going, or if we're ready to move on to the next guest. Yeah, kind of like what Daniel does. I don't know if I got it from Daniel. I'm trying to remember who I got it from. But I do know that it is a case that sometimes debates go on long, and sometimes they get boring, especially like when we get into the Phil Bro debates. Those things can get long. So one, it helps me to move on, and two, it lets the guests know that, hey, they need to speed it up because we ain't got all day. So that's going to be the thing moving forward. It'll only be in place if I have multiple guests, though. I don't want to, just be kicking people if we are having like a good discussion going on. But hey, if you do want to yes, Jen, you did it right. Absolutely. Let's make sure we get that pinned. So yeah, and if you do want to join the conversation, hop in the box on TikTok, and if you're on YouTube, we want you to be able to join the conversation too. So if you do want to join the conversation and you are on YouTube, hit the link up there. It's tinyurl.com/cd-guest. Give that a click. We love to chat with you. I'm able to port you on over. Hey, thank you for the heart me's, Copper Lie. I appreciate it. Is it Copper or Chopper Lie? Chopper Lie. I appreciate it. You have a fantastic evening. And to all those mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. I hope it has been fantastic for you. I mean, it looks like we have a Justin raid coming in. I appreciate the Justin raid. I'm in the process right now of editing my gift goal on um, TikTok. I saw the donuts, and sometimes they'll automatically set them, so we're gonna get those fixed real quick. I appreciate the Justin raid. Um, if you were listening to Justin today, Justin had a wild Orthodox priest come up. Wild debate. And I am absolutely appalled at the stance that some of these religious leaders take. It is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. They should be ashamed of themselves. Their congregations need to be aware of the problematic views that these individuals hold when it comes to, especially when it comes to their views on how women need to be treated, how children need to be treated. Their congregations need to be informed. Yeah, he was something. I was like, Miss Michelle, I'm sorry you had to work. I had to work too. I was slaying it over at Amazon tonight, just slaying it. Also, for those who don't know, I do have a scheduled debate. It is a formal debate with Bought by Blood on, it'll either be on June 6th or 7th. I believe it'll be on the 7th. Time to be decided. It's going to be on the Controversial Compass or Mr. Coco's page. Those on YouTube, I think that's his page on YouTube as well. He does dual stream both to TikTok and YouTube. But it's going to be against Bought by Blood, and the debate is going to be, was Luke written in the first or second century? So obviously my stance is it was written in the second century. So that's our debate. I'm excited for it. We are scheduled right now for two debates. The first one is going to be they're all pretty much the same topic. It's just going through the gospel. So the first debate is going to be Luke. The second debate is going to be Mark. So I'm going to slap him with Luke, and I'm going to backhand him with Mark probably the following week. Let's see, the word of Jesus Christ, bruh, it was written later because all his people were persecuted. Okay, yeah, word of Jesus. What we'll have you come on up. I'm kind of curious what your stance is. So, words of Jesus Christ. I'm going to bring you on up. See if you have a good argument for why you believe the early Christians were persecuted. Now, when we talk about persecution, I'm not arguing that about 3 to 6 years before Constantine, we actually had actual persecution of Christians. That did happen. But before then, there's no evidence of it. What we have is a Roman law. We have a Roman law in which public gathering without a permit is illegal. We have a case where you're allowed to worship anything you wanted. However, you also had to worship the Roman gods as well. So the idea of this persecution isn't persecution. It is the fact that they were breaking the law. And the reason why it's not considered persecution because it affected the Jewish people who refused to bow knee to the Roman gods. It affected the Greeks who refused to bow knee to the Roman gods. It affected literally everybody that refused to bow a knee to the Roman gods. Dylan Price on TikTok, genuine question. If you think that Jesus is a liar and a fraud, why do you talk about him? Because I believe that we need to believe in true things. And I believe that it is the case that too many Christians believe in this liar and a fraud who is now a carcass. And that by believing in him, we are causing and spreading harm throughout the world. But if you want to dispute that he wasn't a liar and a fraud, come on up. I'd love to talk about it. Love to hear what your argument for it is. All right, going to bring up our first guest. It's going to be a Steve K. I'll just call him Steve.
All right, hello, sir.
Hello, can I get
Um,
your age?
yeah, I'm 20.
All right, and are you a Christian?
Yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm a saved
Yeah,
Christian.
yeah. So I believe that Jesus was a liar and a fraud. Now he's a carcass. Um, do you have any arguments
Um,
against it?
yeah. So do you believe that Jesus was real, right? Since you said he's a fraud, right? So he's a real
Yeah.
person, right?
Oh yeah, for this debate, I'll be okay with saying that he's a real person. I'm personally a mythicist, but I have no problem
Okay.
arguing that he might have
Okay.
existed.
Cool.
Sure.
Cool. Have you read the Gospels?
Yeah, I've read the Gospels.
All right. So you know that he. Okay. What's the gospel? What's the gospel? Quick question.
It's the word of God. It means a good message.
So the gospel is that Jesus died and he rose again, and he's
Hmm.
gonna come back and save his people, right?
Yeah. When did
That's
he
the
say he was
gospel.
going to come back? When did he say he was going to come back?
He didn't tell us. He said no one knows except the
Wait,
Father.
wait. He did tell us. He gave us a no later than date. Have you ever read Matthew 24?
Yeah.
What does
He
Matthew
said
24
that
say? What does Matthew 24 say?
he mentioned the events that are gonna happen before the Son of Man comes.
Yeah, and what does he say
Right.
about the time period when the Son of Man comes? He gives us a no later than date.
Tell me.
Oh, yeah, I'll get it brought up on screen real quick. Hold up. Oh no, is my window capture not working? Well, boop. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's working. I got scared there for a minute. I was like, oh no. So what you're gonna see here is here he is talking to the people, and as he's talking to the people, he says, "Then the signs of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes on the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of the heaven with great power and glory. He will send his angels out with a loud trumpet, and they will gather his elect from the four winds." Then we get this little lesson from the fig tree. But then 34, he says, "Truly I tell you," let me get this highlight in a different color. "Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will not pass away, but my word will not." So, how long is a generation according to the Jewish people at the time period?
I don't know that. Well,
40
can you
years. It
tell?
was 40 years, right? So we have a case where is saying that the end time is, he can't tell them exactly when, but he's just saying, hey, within 40 years, because we're going to take the little children into account, or if we start the clock there, within 40 years, I will be back, right? And it's not the case. He didn't come back, so he lied.
I disagree with you.
Oh, well, how do you
Um,
reconcile the passage then?
all right. So when he says that this generation is not gonna pass, he meant that um when he says these, it doesn't exactly mean that generation at that time, but because the word of God is prophetic, it's a prophecy, right? So,
Wait. Hold on. Let's fix this real quick. Want to make sure we're
cool.
clear. So when
All right,
he says, I guess we need to do another highlighting, because I
all
highlight
right.
these generally as people need. So when we get this,
Can you
right? Let me
hold on?
rephrase
Hold on
this.
a second. Can you read from verse 33?
Yeah, we could go 33
Yeah,
verse. Why do you want me to go
yeah.
to verse? Yeah,
So we can
from the
get the
fig tree.
context.
Yeah,
Yeah.
33. So also when you see all these things, you know that he is near at the very gate. So I start at verse 33. I don't know what that
Yeah.
did for you.
Mm-hmm.
Truly I
Okay.
tell you, this generation, notice that in red, this generation. What does this generation imply?
Okay, so exactly. That's my answer to my question. That's why when you read 33. So when he says when you see these things happening, so these things were not happening
Hmm.
at that time, right? So when we see
Yeah.
that these things are starting to happen, that generation that sees the things that are happening will not pass away.
Oh no, that's
That's the
not what this
context
means.
for it.
When he says truly I tell you, this generation, he's talking about that generation there. This is the very scripture. This is the very reason why your grandma probably told you you're going to see Jesus coming, right? Because it started with that first 40 years, and because of this, every generation ever since then has been, you're going to see it. I'm not going to see it. I'm too old. They realize that they're going to pass away and they're not going to see it, but it's because of this scripture, right? But would you like to go see another scripture that just kind of verifies that we're talking about like a definitive time frame here? Yeah, have you read Matthew 16?
No, tell me about Matthew 16.
Oh yeah, well let me get that one brought up real quick. So Matthew 16 is a situation where his disciples are actually asking him. He gets done giving a talk to the multitude, and then as he's walking away, his disciples come to him, and they're kind of worried. They're like, "Hey, are you the guy?" Like their question, like, "Are you the guy?" And this is actually he get something highlighted here. And in this one, he's actually talking about his crucifixion. Now, we can agree that when he talks about his coming in his kingdom, every time he talks about the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, he's always referring to the trumpets, the angels, the glory of God. The kingdom is literally coming down. And so when we bring this one up, we're going to have a case here in this one where it gets the cross and self-denial. Then Jesus told his disciples, and up here, we get foretells his death and resurrection. Here we get Peter's declaration, and then we're going to get cross and self-denial. Then Jesus told his disciples, if any wish to come after me, let them deny themselves and take up their crosses and follow me. Because he's telling them, hey, it's going to be hard for you guys after this. It's going to suck. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. So when he's talking about repaying everyone for what has been done, what's he talking about here?
So that's judgment, basically. Judgment.
Yeah, that's judgment, right? Yeah, judgment, right? I agree, and I agree with you. Truly, I tell you, there are some standing here. Now, keep in mind, the only people he's telling this to are his disciples. They're the only ones that are present. There are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, right? Has he came back yet?
No.
Are any of his disciples still standing? Are they still alive?
Okay, so the context
Let's hear
of
this
that
apologetic. Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so when he says there's some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, he was talking about John seeing the prophet the in Revelation when he saw that what was about to happen, and he didn't die till he wrote Revelation. So John did not get killed and he did not get martyred.
That's not what this scripture says. Hold on. This is saying, for the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, right?
Yeah.
Then he will repay everyone for what has been done. For truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Yeah, so it's not a prophecy, because again, the whole prophecy starts right here. So he has to also be repaying for this to take place, right?
I have a quick question.
That's why. Go ahead.
Okay, so you know that John was the only disciple that didn't get killed, right? And he's the only one that
he
saw
did
the
die.
blood.
He did unalive. You can't prove he's not dead.
Yeah, exactly, obviously, but I'm saying that he did not get killed. He was the last disciple that was alive, right? And
Yeah, sure.
he's the only one that saw wrote Revelation. He's the only one that saw the glory of God among all those disciples, right?
Were the debts repaid? Did God come down in his kingdom and repay the debts? It's
No,
nice that you're looking at
but
half of it, but you got to look at it in its entirety.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the debts weren't repaid. You're missing the first
No,
half of the prophecy.
no, bro. Okay, that's prophecy because that was John. That he was talking about John seeing the glory of God when he comes and judges the world. So Jesus was saying that when John sees the glory of God, all that, he was explaining how he's going to judge everyone and
Mm-hmm.
repay everyone for what they did.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but what you're forgetting is that the first half has to come true.
Exactly.
Yeah, it didn't come true.
Not yet. Okay, I have a
Yeah.
quick question, bro.
Okay.
So who do you believe in?
I'm an atheist.
So there's not God to you, right?
There is no God at all. Absolutely not. Not God's not even needed.
All right. So where do you go when you die?
Do you know what it was like before you were born? I'd imagine that's what it's like. Yeah, I just believe there's
I don't
nothing.
remember how it was before I
Exactly.
was
Yeah,
born.
exactly. Like if we pass away, it's just nothingness.
It's just blank, right?
Yeah. We just
Okay.
go to dirt. We become atoms again. We
Okay.
become
So
matter again. Get
where did we
repurposed for
come from?
something else. Huh?
Okay. So where did we come from?
Oh man. Okay. How old did you say you were again?
I'm 20.
All right. You should have learned this at like middle school health class. But when
Mhm.
two people love each other very, very much,
No,
they
no,
fuck.
I don't
They
want you to
fuck.
explain the birth
And
process.
that may
I'm
lead to pregnancy.
okay, bro.
So
Now
that's where
you're
I
getting
came from.
disrespectful, but I'm
Well,
trying to be
no, I'm just
respectful
answering your
here.
question. You asked where we come
Nah,
from,
I'm
and it is
trying
the
to say
case
like
that my
we're
parents fucked,
baby.
and now I'm
Where
here.
now where do you come from? Where's this origin of man? Like the first person, where did they come from?
Oh yeah,
The
just be
first
a.
person on Earth.
Oh
Hmm?
yeah, just be abiogenesis, and then from there, just evolution.
So why are this apes not whatever the word is? Why are they not becoming humans?
Oh yeah,
The
because it
apes that
is
we
the
have.
case. Yeah, because it is the case that when you live in different areas and you have different diets and stuff like that, right? You are going to be selected for different traits. When evolution happens, different traits are going to be selected for. So it is the case that we lived in a different area than other great apes. Thus, through evolution, through our evolution process, different biological traits were selected for, and thus here we are. We now exist.
You know, humans are so smart, and I think scientists would have already found that there's an ape transforming to a human, and they would
Oh,
have
we do
shown
see
us
that. Have you seen the fossil record where we do see the process of evolution? We do see that, right?
in
Do you
person.
think
If you,
do you think that like evolution works where like because we're still evolving today? I don't know if you're aware of this, but we still see traits of evolution that humans are still going through today. Do you want me to give you an example?
no, bro, I want you to
Well, hold
answer.
on. Let me give you an
Okay,
example. I'm
okay,
going to give
okay.
you an
Give me an
example.
example real
How we
quick.
see? Yeah.
Give me an
So did you
example real
know?
quick.
Yeah. Did you have to have your wisdom teeth pulled out?
Uh huh. Yeah,
You did? Right. Did you
yeah.
know that 30% of humans today, 30% of humans are born without wisdom teeth? We're evolving away from wisdom teeth. We don't need them anymore, so our body's just evolving away from them. So what we're going to see is we're going to see where our jaws today, right, are a little bit elongated, but what they're going to see is thousands of years from now, we're going to see humans that are our descendants that are going to have shorter jaws, shorter skulls because they don't need wisdom teeth. So their skulls are going to get smaller as a result.
Yeah, bro. So back to the ape thing. I still don't understand this ape thing because
Oh yeah, I
um
just answered it for you. You may not have understood it, but that's how it works.
how
I just
long does
explained
it
it to you.
take how long does it take for an ape to turn human?
Billions of years. And they don't.
Billions
It's
of
not that they turn human. We are apes. I don't know if you're aware of this. We are apes. We're part of the great
No,
apes.
I don't agree with that. But
Well, if
um
you're going to appeal to scientists, scientists agree with it. Scientists believe we are. Do you agree with?
yeah, I
Do
don't
you
believe
disagree
in
with
science.
biologists?
Um, I just don't agree with that ape thing.
Oh,
I don't.
oh.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
so
fine. You
you
don't have
think
to, but that's what science says, and we have evidence to back it up.
okay? So you think we've been here on this earth for 1 billion years, and we are gonna live for another billion years?
Yeah. So absurdist, ichtheist. Thank you for the $2. I appreciate it so much. So what they wanted me to let you know is that I don't understand evolution. Therefore, God. Ha ha ha. That's to you. That's to you.
I don't get that, but I asked you a question, bro. So you think we're gonna be on this earth for 1 billion years?
No, I'm a firm believer, and we do have other guests in, so we are going to start the timer. You got 15 minutes to get this wrapped up. Do I believe we're going to be on the Earth? No, I believe that the universe is cyclic, and so I believe that probably within the next 100 billion years, just due to the nature of dark energy and gravity, that the Earth is going to start to collapse in on its, or the universe is going to start collapsing in on itself, and then it'll go through a big crunch and then a big bounce again.
Okay, okay, bro. God bless you.
We have
All right.
evidence of that too. Would you like to hear the evidence for that? Have you researched the Deci study at all?
No, there's no point of this, but God
Oh yeah,
bless you.
yeah, I agree. I'd run too if I was being presented with this evidence.
Run.
Man, man, oof. Yes, Sathium on TikTok is just uh. I do know abiogenesis is true. There, Dylan Price. You try and tell me what you think I know. I think you're just confused. Gonna bring up Knight. Knight wants to come on up. How you doing, Knight?
I'm alive, Cypher. I'm alive.
Oh no.
Yeah, I just, I don't understand evolution, so God.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
All right, you can play the run sound effect. I'll leave. I just wanted to tell you that I don't understand evolution, so therefore, God. Goodbye.
Oh, hold on.
And his name is John C.
That's who you can talk to learn more about evolution.
Peace, peace. So, what's your take? You said what your pop say at the top?
Well, calm down. We got some questions we got to get through first. First of all, how old are you?
You ain't have to mute me, but I'm 25.
And are you a Christian?
Nope.
Oh, what religion are you?
I don't have no religion. I'm spiritual.
Oh. Well, we're only
But yeah,
talking with Christians today.
but you're saying that we evolved from monkeys, correct?
We are apes, yes.
Speak for yourself. But why you believe that because
So yeah, I'm only interested in debating with Christians tonight. Come on up on another night when we're discussing other topics. I would love to chat with you. Then we're gonna go ahead and bring over James from Canada over on Video Ninja. Then brought over really fast.
Hello.
Hello, James. How you doing?
James, how you doing? Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right,
Oh, I
all
have
right,
an
all right.
echo though. I do have an echo. Do you have earbuds?
Oh yeah, 20 seconds. Oh, 10 seconds. I got headphones. I got headphones.
And yes, very very bad audio.
All right, can you hear me now?
You are
Hello?
still extremely broken up right now.
Can you hear me now? Hello, hello, hello.
You're still extremely broken up. I'm gonna drop you. Come back up, and hopefully we can get that audio fixed. We're gonna go ahead and move to Noah on Video Ninja. How you doing, Noah?
I'm doing good.
Oh, holy shit! No fetuses. Like your umbilical cord must be snipped before you can come up. Your umbilical cord needs to have been snipped for at least 18 years before you can come up. All right, we're gonna try James again. 18 years before you can come up. All right, we're gonna try James again. All right,
Hello?
James, I will try you again. We'll see if that audio's better.
Hello?
Hello. So how old are you?
Can you? Hello?
Hello.
All right.
I'm still getting an echo.
Oh, I'm 28. I can't hear you. I can't hear you in the call on my computer. Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Hello, hello,
Hello, hello.
hello. Oh, now I hear you, brother.
Okay.
Everything.
We're gonna
you can
try
stop
this,
now.
but chat can't understand your voice. Is there any way you can get like a connection or something? Chat just can't hear you, and we're here for debates.
What about now? Is chat okay
Nope,
with
you're
my voice?
still sounding extremely broken up. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop you. Come back once you got some better tech working. I apologize. All right, we're gonna hop on over to TikTok. I might have somebody over here for TikTok. And real quick, while we're waiting, let's go ahead and keep tapping that screen, sharing the live. There's 127 of you in here from TikTok right now. I've got 296 on YouTube. Thank you guys so much on YouTube for hanging out. And I do have a $5 super chat from GPEG. Why is it that everyone who rejects evolution seems to not understand it? Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I don't know. I think it's a case of they don't understand it and they don't want to take the time to try to understand it. It's too difficult for them. And it's just goofy to me. Like, take the time to learn. It's not hard. Like, I'm not a biologist. You're never going to hear me like getting into the nitty-gritty about how the genetics works and stuff like that. I don't know that, but I do know the basis of abiogenesis. All right, we're going to go ahead and get Paul Chuck up. How you doing, Paul Chuck?
Hey, Chris Pratt.
Oh, and can I get your age?
23.
Hold on, let me get some things turned up. I think my TikTok did the audio thing again. So let me make sure we get your volumes turned up so people can hear you.
Yeah. Good old
All right,
audio.
and can I get your age?
23.
All right, and are you a Christian?
Yes, please.
All right, and I am a firm believer. And after this one, I'm probably going to do a restart because of this audio, so it'll be a TikTok restart. And I believe that Jesus is a liar and a fraud, and now he's nothing but a carcass. Do you have an argument against it?
I don't agree with that. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have an argument against it?
Yeah.
What's your argument?
I disagree.
Oh, and why?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's the name? Do you want to know? So I actually, fair fact, kind of been lying to you all. I am not an atheist. If you guys want to know something,
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
that guest was not talking. Let me get some things turned down real quick. YouTube, or sorry, not YouTube, TikTok. I am going to do a really fast restart. Hopefully we'll get this little 10 echoey thing that this thing likes to do from time to time fixed. Please come back. If you're not following me, give me a follow. I'll be right back within like 30 seconds. And we got another. So I'll read this super chat once TikTok gets live again. I'll hold off on that. Make sure we're reading this up to everybody that can hear it. I want to make sure I am doing you guys, my followers, a service when I read these. I owe it to you. But while we are waiting for them to load up, let's come over here to Video Ninja. And we will take a look and see if we can get a Jonathan to load up. How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm doing good today.
Why do you keep coming up, ya fucking fetus? Stay off the live. Go to bed. It's like wherever you live, it's like 9 o'clock in Potato Standard Time. Like, go to bed. You got school tomorrow. Go to bed.
Hey, Louise, this guy.
Hey, how you doing, Hoop?
Hello.
Well, no, I just don't like when fetuses come up on the panel. I don't want to talk to kids.
Okay, fair enough.
So, can I get your age?
Me? 36.
Yeah. All right. And are you a Christian?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm a firm believer that Jesus is a lie, or Jesus was a liar and a fraud, and now he's nothing but a carcass.
So are you saying that he was alive?
Oh yeah, for this, well, I'm generally a mythicist, but for the sake of this argument, I'll be okay with presupposing that he did exist, he did live, but I believe it was a liar and a fraud.
Okay, so the argument is not a real argument then. It's just a hypothesis. It's just like a hypothetical argument there.
Oh, no, it is. It is. He was a liar and a fraud, and now he's nothing but a carcass.
Well, I'm saying,
dead body.
so he was a liar and a fraud, so he did, but he was truly a person that existed in this world, right, or no?
Yeah, for this argument, I'm not taking the stance that he was, and I'm okay with saying he existed for this argument, sure.
Okay. So my question is, for, I guess, generally for the people like you, if you want people to get drawn away from Christianity, I heard earlier you said that when people die, they're just going to go back to when they were born, which was nothingness, I guess, apparently.
Yeah, they'll go to nothingness, yep.
So it's just kind of like, what would be the point of life if that was true?
And life is going to be whatever you want it to be. There is no inherent meaning to life. It can be whatever you want it to be.
So I should just go drive my car and just crash into 10 people.
Oh, no, that'd be immoral. That'd be immoral. You shouldn't
Why
do
would that be immoral? I mean, life is whatever I want it to be. So why would that be immoral?
Yeah, because you're not employing empathy when you do that, so it'd be immoral. Yeah,
I don't care about empathy, though. Life should be whatever I want it to be. Life should be whatever I want it to be, whether it's empathetic, whether it's sympathetic, whether it's mean, whether it's... Because that's the... Like, when I think of people
if you want to be a mass on the liver, sure. But there's going to be consequences because you'd be acting out of empathy that should be irrational. Yeah.
Well, I mean, have you ever heard the saying that one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter?
Oh yeah, but that wouldn't be the case for you just getting your vehicle and unaliving people. That wouldn't fit. And real quick, while people are
you don't know my cause though. I never said what my cause was.
oh, hold on one moment. Need to make some changes here really fast. Then we'll go. All right, let me know if that's better with the audios. Let me know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
No. I'm talking about with chat, just making sure things are better for the chat. And real quick, I'm going to read this real quick because I told them I would. So we do have a super chat for $5. Thank you so much, Zero. If you put together a puzzle of a picture and a bird, but are missing one piece, does that mean you can't tell it's a bird? That's like denying evolution. Absolutely. I don't know why they deny evolution. And yeah, chat and hold on. Quick question. Are you able to turn down your TV? The chat can hear it in the back, and it's causing them to complain. Yeah, not a problem. And we do have a few people that are in there, so we are going to throw the chat up. We do have 15 minutes to get this through, so we can just make sure we are able to get through the chats. Yeah. So the case is, if you want to turn yourself into like a homicidal maniac, sure, you can make that your meaning in life, but that'd be unempathetic. It would be the case that it'd be irrational, and thus you'd go to jail for it. Prison for the rest of your life. Well, absolutely, yeah.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, I'm just saying I could take your argument and I could apply it to because I'm pretty sure this is what people do that are in jail and prisons. You know, there's still some people that committed murders. You know, they don't feel like they've done the wrong thing, right?
Oh yeah, and if you're doing it out of and you're not utilizing empathy and you're being irrational when you're doing things, then you're going to go to prison for it. Absolutely, yep.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Is, how would you know whether the terrorist is whether he's expressing empathy or whether he's expressing?
What's the definition of empathy? Hold on. What's the definition of empathy?
Empathy is usually when you feel like for somebody what they're going through, but you're not. You know, it's not sympathy, but it's like you kind of feel for them.
So empathy. So in this case would be the case that with empathy it is when we're using empathy here is the ability to listen to both sides of an argument, right? And so all people considered, right? So if you're going to hop into a vehicle and you're just going to decide to start running people over, and if you're employing empathy, right, you're going to take all the arguments of all people's included. You're going to put yourself in the seats of all people that are included, which includes people that you're running over. Same with a freedom fighter, right? If you're going to say that somebody is a freedom fighter, all things considered, and yeah, it is the case that sometimes horrible things have to happen, where we'd say it's not necessarily there is no right or wrong, and that could be the case with certain freedom fighters / terrorists. That could be the case, but in the case of somebody that's going to get in their vehicle and just manslaughter or straight up schmurder a bunch of people, no, that's not the case. You're not a freedom fighter.
Well, yeah, I use that example to try to get to another example. It's easy to say, like I said, to use the terrorist freedom fighter example, but technically, when someone does crime, we don't know anything. You can't go inside a person's brain, so you don't know what.
Oh yeah, I can.
Thinking when they did that crime.
Oh sure, I can. It depends.
Well, actually, no. See, what you just said is literally impossible, though. You can't.
Well, let me finish. Let me finish. So can you hold on? Listen. Don't make me mute you. Don't make me mute you. Right. So what was the argument that I gave?
The worst thing that ever happened in my life. Please don't.
Yeah. So what was the argument that I gave with the terrorist versus freedom fighter? What was the argument that I gave? What did I say? Did I say whether or not that was right or wrong?
No, I believe you said something about using empathy, whether they could hear both sides, something like that.
Yeah, and so it could be the case that the losers of that case may be viewing them as terrorists, but whereas the people on the other side, empathy with all things considered, might be viewing it as freedom fighting, and they might be freedom fighting. It just depends on what side of that coin you sit on, right? But the important thing is, the question that needs to be asked is, did they actually utilize their empathy before they took their action, right? So then if we run into a situation where you are just deciding to jump into your car and go right into a bunch of people, you're not utilizing your empathy. Under no circumstances would empathy have ever been employed there.
Okay, fair enough. I got another question. if I'm born, like
W
you said, my life
concession?
was nothing before I was born. Yeah, that's a concession.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question. You said we have 15 minutes, right? So I'm gonna have to make a lot of
Yeah.
concessions as this goes.
You got
on.
11 minutes now.
Anyways, yeah, I could tell you're not the guy that's gonna give up a concession to me, so I'll give up a concession. Anyways, so I have another question. If I'm born, you said life doesn't mean anything. So if I'm one of those kids in Gaza and I just get blown up at 6 years old, what was the meaning of my life? Did my life have meaning or what? Like,
Oh, your life has a lot of meaning to your parents, to your family, to your loved ones. The fact that you're a human, we should all care about human life. Sure, doesn't devalue
See,
the
you guys
life,
have to
and
be
those things
careful
are horrible
because-
things that are happening.
Well, see, this is the only problem Christians have because.
But you see how you're shifting the goalpost here, though. But
Well,
you
no,
see how you're
kinda
shifting a
sounded more like
goalpost.
a Christian as you say stuff like that. You kind of sound like a Christian, so that's where Christians they kind of get puzzled.
Well, you think
They
I'm
say,
sounding
no,
like
they
a
say-
Christian, but you're just confused. You're concussed. You hopped in the
No,
box
no,
and you're
no.
waiting in there for so long. You must have tripped and hit your head and got yourself
No, well,
concussed.
Let me get a word out, or are you just gonna keep talking? I can understand this is probably how you do people. I actually have intelligent things to say. But anyways, like I said, this is kind of where Christians go, and they kind of wonder like, why are you trying to draw people away from something and you're not taking them to anything to believe in? It's like, at least if you're gonna draw me away from something, take me something I have to believe in. When you start saying
Yeah.
stuff like that, it kind of just sounds, about and it's like, it's like if you want to pick certain things out and have a discussion about them, but kind of like when you go with the, because what drew me in was the title, and I'm just like, what is going on with this title? And it's like, people kind of wonder, well, if you are that person that you're saying, well, with that title, you're doing the opposite of what you just said. So it's kind of like, we're kind of trying to figure it out. One last thing. Hey, if I do believe in evolution. Evolution is clear as day. You'd have to be stupid not to believe in evolution. But why in the hell are apes?
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to go ahead and bring up JD. JD, how you doing? JD, are you there? I cannot hear you. I'm going to go ahead and drop you. Come back up. I'll bring you back up. And go ahead and bring up Daniel. Daniel, how you doing?
I'm doing good today.
How old are you?
13.
Yeah, we can't talk to you. All right, we're going to bring up Hoop. How you doing, Hoop? Hoop, I'm not able to hear you. I think we had this discussion last time you tried to come up. We're having a hard time hearing you. Hoop, I'm going to go ahead and drop you. Come back up once you get your technology figured out. I could not hear you. I apologize. And what is up with these fetuses coming up? Like, it's goofy. Like, I have never seen so many fetuses trying to get up onto a live. Let's go ahead and keep tapping that screen sharing live. If you do like these debates, for those over there on TikTok, YouTube, there's 215 of you over there. If you do like the debates, go ahead and give me a subscription. I would really appreciate it. I do have another super chat to read. This one is going to be from Nightwind, 100%, and we've got another $2 from the Absurdist Ichtheist. I don't understand morality, therefore God. Yes, that does seem to be the thing. I don't know, therefore God. It's like the super God of the gaps is what we got going on. Like, it is the super God of the gaps. I don't know God. Then hopping back over, I don't have anybody on TikTok wanting to come in right now. So we're going to go ahead and keep on trying. Video Ninja. Got JD again. Hopefully we'll be able to hear. How you doing, JD? Oh, let me. Hello, JD. How you doing? Can you hear me, JD?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you? I'm good. Yeah, I just
I'm
want to
good.
say you got guts doing this show.
I do. I've been doing it for a while. I've been doing it on TikTok for about 2 years now. I've jumped between the LGBTQIA plus side of things and the religious side of things. But I've been doing pretty much strictly religious. I'll panel on the LGBTQIA plus side of things, but I've been mainly doing religion for about the last year. But how old are you?
Well, I'm an adult. I don't like to give up my age, but I'm not a Christian, but I do follow the values that the Christian religion does prescribe.
Okay, well, I do apologize. I am only looking for debates. My chat only is really here to watch debates. But I can give you some other great people if you do like these kind of debates. Are you following Justin from the Deconstruction Zone?
No.
All right, give Justin from the Deconstruction Zone a follow. Give Archthinker a follow. Give Joyful Apostate. All amazing people. So anyways, but you have a fantastic evening. I appreciate you coming up. I don't know. All right, this guy's name is My Mic is Choppy, Don't Mind. We'll give this a try, but my mic is choppy. If it is super choppy, I'm just going to have to drop you. I'm going to have to drop you.
Okay.
Holy fuck. God damn. This person's consistent. Like, this person wants to talk to adults for some reason, and it's creepy. It is the same kid. That's what, his third or fourth time trying to get up? Todd Hunter, hop on up. Let's talk about it. I would love to chat with you, Todd. Hop on up. Go ahead and get this new goal set. No, I wasn't raised atheist. I was raised practicing Orthodox Judaism. You know what? We've got shells now as a gift goal. Let's set the gift goal for 100 shells. You know, we're gonna send Todd an invite. Todd, you should have a thing popping up in front of your face right now that says Cyber Deconstruction invited you up. Give that a little click. It'll put you in a little box over here, and we can definitely talk. I'd love to chat with you. And maybe we could hash this out. Maybe you can point me in a direction where Jesus was not a liar and a fraud. I'd be really interested to hear it. I don't think Todd will accept, though. Todd probably won't accept. Just remember, 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15 states that if your faith is challenged, you must give a defense to it. And again, for those that are coming in, I do want to thank you all. For all the mothers out there, I do want to tell you Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for being awesome people. And we just smashed that shell goal. We have Bad Religion, etc. Miss Michelle, Agnostic Data Engineer. Thank you so much for the subscription. Absolutely means a lot to me. Philared. We got Dark Knight, Angel, Witch Woman. And thank you all so much for the gifts. I appreciate it. It really means a lot. It helps me. I'm trying to update my equipment. I do eventually want to move towards a desktop. So I've got some better equipment here. Although if you were listening to Justin's live earlier, part of me is like, I'm going to try this Invincible Gorilla. It is 10 coins, but we're only going to set that goal to 20. I'm curious. It probably has an animation. I want you all to experience that. We're going to go ahead and bring up our next guest. It is Jesus is King. This will either be a really good debate or it'll be unbearable. We shall see. Jesus is King. How are you doing?
Hey, buddy, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Where are you from?
That's irrelevant.
Okay, just trying to get to know you a little bit. I'm not going to judge you much here. I'm just trying to see why you're posting such strong verbal things about Jesus. I mean, that's your own opinion, but
Yeah. And how old are you?
I'm in my 40s now.
All right, and I'm assuming you're a Christian?
Yes, I am, yeah.
All right. Let me get your volume turned down real quick. All right. So I've already ran Jesus was a liar. I'm not going to run that one this time. I'm going to run Jesus is a fraud. I'm a firm believer Jesus is a fraud, and now he's a carcass.
Okay, so, like, why do you feel that way? Like, it's unfortunate to hear someone say such strong words about sacrifice so much. Like, even when Jesus was getting sacrificed, they were spitting on him, eh? So, you know, it's not like a guy who stood up, like he never used a sword even once against anyone.
Yep. Hey, real quick, come right back up. The chat's hearing some things. I'm going to drop real quick. Come right back up. I'm going to bring you right back up. I might bring him right back up. I don't know where he went. Are you still there?
Hi.
Huh, because your thing on Video Ninja disappeared. Could you hang up real quick and then just come back? Oh, he is on TikTok. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was somebody on Video Ninja. I thought that was somebody from Video Ninja. I didn't realize he was on TikTok. Come back up. I'm wondering because like I'm trying to turn him down. I'm like, why is it not turning down? That's my bad. I apologize for that, chat. I apologize for that. I was wondering why his TikTok bar was lighting up and not the Video Ninja. Knight, could you bring him up real quick? Yeah, there was somebody that I brought up at the same time I brought him up. Somebody I brought up at the exact same time, and then they started talking, and then they must have dropped, and so then I thought Video Ninja was glitching. So I'm over there like doing things on Video Ninja, and I'm still hearing him talk, and I'm like, the heck? You can come back up if you're still in here. Come back up. We'll definitely chat again. Man, now I feel bad. Oh, wait, we're going to go over to Video Ninja then. While we are waiting, we have a Cody over there waiting. Yeah, where is Double Donkey? Somebody tell Double Donkey to get his ass over here. How you doing, Cody?
Jesus King.
Fucking hell. Like, stop. Yes, definitely a fetus. Well, Shay, come on up. Yeah, who gave that child the phone? Like, look, listen. I grew up in the age when cell phones weren't a thing. I don't think cell phones became really popular until I was in high school. And even then, it was the Nokia phone. If you don't know the Nokia phone, you know what? Speaking of R&R, so Reason and Rebellion, we had our first episode last Thursday. So because there is an episode posted, if you're not following Reason and Rebellion, you should be able to go to it, be able to follow it now, because there is a video posted there. YouTube for some people is weird. Go give Reason and Rebellion a follow every Thursday at 9 potato 10 Central. We will be running you know, I'm gonna do something real quick, because there's a thing that keeps popping up. I'm gonna bring this up, and I bet it's gonna be a fetus. Watch, we're gonna bring this up. It's gonna be a fetus. Hello. Are you there, Sam? Oh, they dropped. They just dropped. But yep, so Reason and Rebellion, it is me and my friend Jaron from Christ Before Jesus. We're going to be working on getting him over on YouTube as well. I know that's something he's been interested in doing. He is the author of Christ Before Jesus. If you're a mythicist, if you don't believe that Jesus existed, this is a book that he and his co-author, I am not his co-author, it's a book that he and his co-author wrote on Jesus having never existed. But give that a follow. We go live every Thursday. And last week's drink of the week was whiskey. I don't know what this drink of the week will going to be, but we do a drink of the week. So let's see. And also, if you're on YouTube, if you don't like the background, if you have a dispute with the background, go ahead and give that link, tinyurl.com/cdguest. I can bring up R&R. The problem with bringing up R&R is I have the YouTube feed up over here. Because unlike Justin, I don't have multiple screens. I just have the one. So I do have my YouTube up. So one, it allows me to watch it, and I can also interact with the chat as well. Well, let's bring Victoria up. I don't believe he was tortured. I think that's a lie. Sure, he might have existed. I don't think he was crucified. I think that's a lie. I think the whole idea of Jesus being crucified is the best way they gaslight you. Like, that is the gaslight. Look, this man unalived for your sins. He unalived for you. And his disciples and all the earlier, they were persecuted for you. So you must follow them. I think that's the biggest gaslight ever. And for those who don't know as well, I do have a debate with Bought by Blood. That debate is going to be on June 7th. Maybe the 6th, but probably the 7th. Time to be decided. It's going to be on the Controversial Compass or Mr. Coco's live if you're on TikTok. He also does dual stream onto YouTube. And it's going to be over, was the book of Luke written in the 1st or 2nd century? Obviously, I'm taking the stance, I'm taking the affirmative on this, that it was written in the 2nd century. It is going to be a formal debate. And let's go ahead and get this next guest over here on Video Ninja brought up. How you doing? Are you there? Hello, hello. Well, I'm going to, if you want to debate, come back up. I'd love to have a chat with you. Had somebody in there, they didn't hear me. I don't know what's going on. So Monique, I don't believe that Jesus was man-made. I don't buy into that. I think Jesus is just the evolution of the mystery cult, mainly the one for Serapis. I believe it was the evolution of a Serapis mystery cult, and we really see its explosion with the Bar Kokhba revolt. I think that's where we start seeing like the Jewish and the Judea stories getting intermixed with it, but I don't think it was made up in its entirety. I just think it's the evolution of religion. How you doing, Venus? If you're not giving Venus a follow on TikTok, and Venus, if you want to leave a comment, give Venus a follow. Venus hosts amazing lives. Make sure you're following Venus. All right, we will try this person one more time. Hello, Video Ninja Guest. How are you doing?
Hello.
Fuck. Yes, just go to bed. That kid is bored. Absolutely. That guess is bored. Truth be told, over on TikTok, how can you claim that without his carcass? So it is the case that I don't think you understand how Second Temple period bodies were buried. I'm pretty certain you're not familiar with how that worked. We wouldn't actually expect to find a body. It would be the case that, for example, or for one, if he was executed, there's a good chance that his body would have been just thrown into a mass pit. But two, if it was the case that his family did have like a tomb, and being carpenters weren't like poor. If you believe that like because Jesus was a carpenter and he was like poor, that's just wrong. Carpenters were fairly rich for their time period. They had family tombs, and the way that would work is they would lay the body in the tomb, they'd wrap it up, they'd anoint it with oils, and then they leave it in there either until they needed that space, because family tombs had a few places to lay a few different bodies, so they'd either leave the body there until they needed that spot because somebody else had passed away, or until it started to decompose. Once it started to decompose, then they throw it in an ossuary, and once the ossuary got filled, depending on how big bodies were, but they'd wait till it was full of bodies, full of bones, and then they would just take it outside the tomb and just bury it right there. So you'd have stacks, right? So it could be the case that we found his body, but we'd have no way to know if it was Jesus, because we don't know his DNA. We would have no idea that it was his body. Well, I am 42. Hop on up here. Hop on up here because you're not true. And in fact, if you hop up here, I can bring somebody up who would probably love to chat with you about that. And they are indigenous, and I think they would love to talk with you about that view. So what he's saying is, guess what, host? The Cherokee were visited by Yehovah and knew his Hebrew name. And that's goofy. That's not true. Not true. I'm going to go, here's what we're going to go and copy this link. Because the nice thing is, I'm going to go copy this link. We're going to go paste this link. We're just going to paste it right there. Because the nice thing is, when these guests keep coming back up, if they've been on before, their link is going to be there. So I'll be able to see if it is. But we're going to try bringing them up again. but I do have a feeling that it is just going to be the same person. But we'll give them a go again. Hello, Han. Can I get your age? Han, you are live and on the air. All right, we got God is Good coming on up. Hello, God is Good. Can I get your age? Hey, can I get your age? You are live and on the air, God is Good. Sending you a message to see if you, well, now I know you're reading it. Because you're responding. Yes, I'm talking to you. You don't hear me? All right. Come back up. I'm gonna hang up, come back up, and we'll try this again. That is true. How can we hear? Well, if it gets too loud, just let me know, and we will do that. We're gonna bring up the truth.
Hello, man.
Hello, the truth. Hey, it's going. Can I get your age?
Yeah, I'm 21.
All right, and are you a Christian?
I am a Christian, yes.
All right, so I believe Jesus was a fraud, and now he's a carcass.
That's fine if you hold that presupposition. I was actually I just wanted to hear your take on my stance on the fact that I would say the likeliness or the probability of there being a creator of the universe is significantly way more likely than not.
Oh, I can give you a syllogism for why that's not the case.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, do you know how a syllogism works?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay, so my argument is going to be that due through Occam's razor, do you know what Occam's razor is?
Can't say I've heard of that before, to be honest.
All right, so yeah, so Occam's razor just means that, like, if you and I are starting at the same position and we're trying to draw a conclusion, whichever set can get there the quickest without, having to go over here and bring on this baggage or bring on this baggage, whoever can get there quicker is the one that we just assume to be true, because that would show that all the added baggage that you bring on is unnecessary. Does that make sense?
I think I see where you're coming from with that.
Okay, so that's what Occam's razor is. So my premise is going to be that through Occam's razor, I'm going to show that God is unnecessary. He's added baggage. Now, you can disagree with my premises, but if you agree with my 3 premises, I'm going to have 3 of them. If you agree with all the premises, then the conclusion goes through. If you disagree with any of the premises, then we'll debate those premises one-on-one. Does that make sense? Okay, so premise 1 is going to be all creation entails a change of states of reality. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I don't honestly understand what exactly that would mean by because people when you say reality, people, as crazy as it may sound, people interpret what reality is differently.
Reality is the world as we see it.
Right. I wouldn't say so. No, I don't think so.
Can you name anything that's ever been created without changing reality?
Oh, without changing. Not on the top of my head, no.
Yeah, so it'd be fair to say then all creation entails a change of states of reality, correct? Meaning there was, like, a change of state of reality would be there was nothing, and by nothing, and I'm doing this from your worldview, so from your worldview, I'm not saying, like, when I say nothing, I'm assuming God's there. I'm not meaning, like, absolute nothing. What I'm meaning is there was no universe, and then there was a universe, and that's a change of reality, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Yeah. So that's premise 1. You agree to premise 1. Premise 2. A change of states is the progression from one state of reality to another state of reality. You there? Hello? And he ran. And he ran. He dropped. He realized where that was going. All right. So we do have, I'm going to see if we can get this back. We over on Video Ninja. See if we can get God is Good back up.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you this time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. That kind of spooked me. I was waiting for you the whole time, and then boom.
Yeah, you're over there walking around. I'm like, you went over late on your bed, and I'm like, does he know he's live right now? All right, so how old are you?
I'm 20.
All right, are you a Christian?
I am.
All right, so I am a firm believer that I already ran Jesus was a liar. Right now I'm running Jesus was a fraud. Now he's nothing but a carcass.
So, earlier I heard you saying why he wouldn't be put in the tomb. I was just curious on why you're thinking he wouldn't be treated differently when he was claiming all of these things. And, he was saying how he would tear down and rebuild the temple in 3 days, and how he's the son of God and all of that stuff, that they wouldn't put him in a tomb and keep an eye on him over the next 3 days to see if he does what he promised he would.
Oh, I don't believe he
probably
made.
be thrown in.
Oh, I'd say I don't believe he made those predictions. What I believe is that these books are written in the mid-second because I believe these books were written in the mid-2nd century. So when we talk about, like, where it's talking about the destruction of the temple, I believe the temple was already destroyed, and these are being written as if they occurred in the past. But I believe they're written in the mid-2nd century.
Well, I mean, technically, if they were writing them and they published them, when they published them, they were writing about the past that they had experienced.
Well, let me give you an example on why I do this. So, who is Luke writing to? And we get this person in both Luke and Acts. Who is Luke writing to? It's in Luke 1.
I'm not positive.
Yeah, but I'll get it brought up. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because you're on Video Ninja.
Yeah, I can't see you right now. I don't know if I'll be able to
Yeah.
see
So
you.
if you go to Luke 1, it'll be 1:3. Luke 1:3, and I'll get this brought up for chat. It mentions in here, it says that he's writing, he's making a well-ordered account to you, most excellent Theophilus. So do you know who this Theophilus is?
No, I do not.
Yeah, so we don't know. However, what we do know is there was the Archbishop Theophilus in the mid-2nd century. And if it is the case that he's writing to a Theophilus, and we have the only other Theophilus that we have in history was the high priest who stopped being the high priest in 41. So it doesn't make sense to be writing to him. He has no power anymore. The only other person in history that it would make sense to be writing to is Theophilus of Antioch.
Okay.
So this is just evidence of it. We do know that, like, if you ever read Josephus and you read Paul, it's Luke 1:1. Or sorry, Luke 1:4. And Storm is wanting me to ask you, could you say a prayer? Your audio's kind of really choppy. Could you pray to Jesus to fix your audio?
Sorry, I got a fan on. I think it's really hot. Hang on.
Oh, okay, yeah, turn it off real quick. Maybe that'll make it better.
Is that better?
That is better. That's a lot better.
Yeah, it's a really strong fan. I got no AC cover. Good. So my Luke 1:4 says that you may know the truth concerning the things of which we have.
Oh, sorry, 3, verse 3, verse 3. Sorry, one verse before that, verse 3.
My verse 3 says, it seemed good to me also, having followed all things closely for some time past, to write an orderly account for you as I think. Okay, no Theophilus.
Yep. And Acts is written because, keep in mind, Luke is supposedly who wrote Acts as well. And Theophilus isn't mentioned. We don't know who it is unless you go to the mid-2nd century. It'd be Theophilus of Antioch. It is also the case that when we look at what the early church fathers, none of the early church fathers quote any of the Gospels. In fact, we don't get any mention of the Gospels in any semblance of what they are now until Justin Martyr. Justin Martyr, he doesn't even refer to them as the Gospels. He calls them the Memoirs of the Apostles. And that's like the earliest mention that most scholars will say we get for the Gospels. We do have Papias. Now, we don't have Papias's actual writings. We have Papias through other church fathers. Other church fathers are quoting what Papias said. But there is a possibility that Papias might have mentioned Matthew and Mark. But even what he said about him doesn't match. What he says about Mark is that Mark was a translator for Peter, and Peter would tell him stories, and he's at a later age, and now he's trying to write down these stories as he's remembering them. But that doesn't really purport what Mark is. And then Matthew, all he says about Matthew is that Jesus gave some really bomb-ass quotes, and Mark was just dialoguing his quotes. So it doesn't say that Matthew. It doesn't say that Matthew actually gave a gospel. Just says that Matthew made a catalog of his quotes. However, something else that's important to know about the mid-2nd century is if you go read the book Wisdom of Sirach, it's written by a guy named Yeshu ben Sirach, and it's like chicken soup for the Jewish soul. It's a bunch of like proverbs that this man wrote. And it was banned. This book was actually banned in the mid-2nd century by Simon Bar Kokhba's rabbi, Rabbi Akiva. He actually banned this book. It's part of the canon, or the Catholic canon, and I think the Orthodox might use it, but it's part of their canon, but it's not part of the Protestant canon. But it's a bunch of quotes, and if you go look at a bunch of the quotes that are made in there and then compare them to what Jesus says, Jesus clearly stole his quotes from Sirach. And it's probably where they got the name Jesus from, is from Jesus ben Sirach, which was written probably in the 2nd century BCE. So yeah, I'm not convinced like that these books about this Jesus are anywhere about Jesus at all. I think there was a man named Jesus. Sure, he might have been like an apocalyptic preacher, like an apocalyptic teacher, sure. But I think after he passed away, things were myth. He was turned into a myth. I don't think that that these stories are about him. I don't even think he was. I don't even think he was crucified. I think these are all just made up stories.
Well, there are tons of people who saw the crucifixion of Jesus.
Can you name one?
There are 5. I cannot name the people there because I wasn't there at that time. There are several books. There's
so you're gonna
manuscripts.
Yep. So you're gonna mention the 500. Who tells us about the 500?
One of the people, one of the writers in the Bible.
I'll give you a hint. His name starts with a P and ends in all.
I do not know his name.
Paul. It was Paul. But Paul never talked to these people. All Paul says is, he's telling the crowd, he says, hey, look, Jesus was resurrected. He's like, I saw Jesus. I was on my way to Damascus. I fell off my horse. Jesus appeared to me. His family saw him. His disciples saw him. And on top of all those, 500 other people I heard over 500 other people heard these or talked to him. But the issue is we don't have a record of any of these people. Paul didn't even bother to go double check this himself. He just heard about it. Somebody told him that, hey, 500 people saw this as well. But he didn't verify it. We have no reason to believe he verified it. He never states it. We don't have a name. And let me ask you a question.
Thomas, who doubted Jesus' resurrection until he went there himself and stuck his fingers inside of the holes in his hand and realized it was him.
Yeah, do we have Thomas's?
Did not believe until he actually experienced it himself.
Yeah, so my question would be is if Jesus was Jesus, why did Thomas not recognize him? Thomas traveled with him everywhere. Why did Thomas not recognize him?
Yeah, I don't think it's not that necessarily he wasn't recognized.
Well, no, that's why he's called Doubting Thomas. He didn't recognize him.
I mean, you watched.
Yeah,
in fact,
I'm getting some updated news right now. Iron Rod.
I mean, you watch someone die in front of you. Are you going to think that they're going to be alive 3 days later?
Is there any evidence that Thomas? Are you sure that Thomas was? Hold on. Is there any evidence that Thomas witnessed his crucifixion? Do we have evidence that Thomas was there? Do we have any Roman documents that say he was crucified? We have Christian documents that say he was crucified. Do we have any Roman documents?
Right. I don't know how many Romans at the time were writing down while they were watching Jesus die.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, would you like me to point you to an event that we know that Matthew lied about and this would give us reason that Matthew would lie about, or the gospel writers would lie about other things. So we've already discredited Luke. We've already pointed to where Luke had to have been written in the 2nd century. Can we discredit Matthew and just show you that
about Luke? You were talking about Theophilus, but that actually translates to where did it go? The lover of God or friend of God.
Yeah,
So
can you
in that
show me?
instance,
Can
when
you?
use the
Well, yeah,
word
I know what
Theophilus,
I know what the apologetic is. Can you show me any Jewish writings in which anybody was ever referred to Theophilus outside of Luke? You just need to be able to back up that apologetic with any source other than the apologetic itself.
or maybe if you were to talk to somebody who's speaking that language.
Well, you just need to show me.
Widely use it, but in that situation,
Well, you just need to show me that there's any kind of tradition of them referring to lovers of God as Theophilus, of that being a common term for that time, and for somebody to be referred to as the most excellent. You just need to show evidence of that. Outside of that, it's just an apologetic that Christians like to use, but it doesn't mean anything. They can't substantiate it.
yeah, I don't know the common phrases of anything at that time. I'm not from that time, and I haven't done enough research to figure that out. But
I mean, I will give you
translate Theophilus into lover of God, friend of God.
Well, yeah, names have meanings. Like every name has a meaning. Like, for example, so I'm going to give chat. I'm going to do a little reveal here about my personal self here. My Jewish name, because I'm Jewish, so we'll oftentimes have a Jewish name and a Gentile name. My Jewish name is Abravam. So if you know that it's Abraham, right? If we look at that, do you think that means? Do you think that means that like I'm actually the father of nations? Because that's what Abraham means.
Well, that's the meaning behind the word, but no, I did not think you're the father of nations.
Yeah, and I'm not the father of nation. Maybe I will be. Maybe I will be. Tenebris, mark this. I'm going to be a father of nations.
With the start of a new nation.
Right. And so it's so it is the case that like name meanings are pointless unless you can start pointing to that this was like a common term that was being used. But let's go to Matthew. So in Matthew chapter 2, we learn that Jesus and his family had to go into hiding after he was born. Why did they need to go into hiding after he was born?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, in Matthew chapter 2, it states that they are going into hiding. And they have to go to Egypt. Why are they going into hiding in Matthew chapter 2?
I'm not positive.
It's because Herod has given an order to unalive the children. All children under the age of 2 are to be unalived. Now, do you believe that this event actually happened?
I'm not positive. I haven't read through the New Testament fully.
I'll give you the scripture. So go to Matthew chapter 2, verse 16. And let me know when you've had a chance to read it.
Okay. Okay. Then we saw that she had been tricked by the wise men with an ear, so that he could sent and killed all the male children of Bethlehem. And in all that region, she was 2 years old from the according to the time which she had ascertained from the wise men.
Yeah, and can you chat's complaint sounds like you're trying to chew on your mic. Could you back up from your mic just a little bit? But as a matter of fact, Jeff says this is what the burning bush might have sounded like to Moses. This is true, very true. So, but this event, do you think that this event actually happened?
Well, it says it right here.
Because we do have historians like Josephus. Josephus hated Herods. He hated the Herods. Anytime the Herods sneezed funny, he wrote about it. Anytime they forgot to wash their hands, he would write about it. He hated the Herods. And we've got no record of this ever happening. None. And this is significant because not only do we not have this being written down by historians, no historians of the time write about this. Even critics of the Herods, we don't have any Roman documents that talk about this. And this is something that the Herods couldn't do on their own because they had to get permission from Rome because they're wiping out an entire taxpayer group. Not to mention, people would write about this. This is close enough to our time period where if this was happening throughout the land, we would have records of this. People would have wrote about this. And there's nothing. The only documentation we have of this is Christian documentation. Nothing outside of Christianity supports that this happened. So where I'm getting at is the writings that we have in the Gospels are just completely untrustworthy. We can't trust them. We can't trust what they say. We do know that resurrection for antiquity was a common thing. We have lots of people that were claiming to be resurrected. In fact, there was a Nero impersonator who went and convinced the Parthians to go to war against Rome, and they did, and they lost. In fact, so like people claiming to be resurrected isn't anything new for antiquity. There's plenty of people that claim to be a resurrected somebody else. It's just mythology. The Gospels and the New Testament is just mythology that was written in the mid-2nd century. Got anything else?
No, probably not. I don't know currently. I don't have the historical and intelligence to go against what you're saying right now. So
yep, not a problem. Well, what I want you to do is, as a matter of fact, if you want my arguments on this, go look on Amazon, look up the book Christ Before Jesus. It's written by my friend Jaron. He's also on TikTok under the name Christ Before Jesus. Buy that book. You can buy the ebook is only like $3. Give it a buy. I don't get any kickbacks from it. Even though Jaron's a friend of mine, he doesn't give me kickbacks. But go buy the book. You give it a read. You'll know my arguments. Then you can research it. Then come back and absolutely stomp the fuck out of me next time you come back. All right, you take care.
You too.
That guy was nice enough. He was lost. Like, yeah, I'd make sure that you know the scriptures, know the history on them before we try to make a claim, because then you just start sounding goofy. And while we are waiting, I appreciate everybody that's been hanging out here. We've got 75 people over on YouTube. We've got 80 on TikTok. I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, if you do want to join the debate, go ahead and click the link if you're on YouTube, tinyurl.com/cd-guest, and we'll go ahead and bring on up the next guest. I'm not getting anybody on. He did sound like adult Charlie Brown. Absolutely. And I have a feeling I'm going to bring this person up, and given the names, I bet we're going to be visited by another fetus, but we'll give it a go. But I have a feeling it's going to be the fetus. Hello, Genesis. Are you there, Genesis? All right, we're going to move on to T Fizzle. How you doing, T Fizzle?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good.
And can I get your age?
I am 25.
All right. And are you a Christian?
I hesitate to call myself a Christian, but
Do you
I
believe
would
that
say
Jesus
that
died and was resurrected for your sins?
I really struggle with that claim.
Oh, why?
Well, just from what I've been listening to the past 5 minutes of your conversation with the past guest, I relate to your position in that it's hard to trust 2,000-year-old history, and that's kind of like a big hang up for me. So I approach it more symbolically, I would say, which is probably heretical in a big way.
That is heretical. You're going right to super hell, just so you know. You're going to get to the pearly gates, and St. Peter is going to look at you, and he's going to see your name's not on there. He's going to look at Jesus, and Jesus is just going to go, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't believe in that.
No, yeah. But yeah, it's hard. It's it's something I struggle with, but at the same time, I kind of, maybe I'm not the best person to have this debate. I was kind of thinking we could have more of a conversation because, I'm not the best person to obviously defend Christianity by any means. But
Hold on real quick. Hold on real fast. All right, chat. We got somebody who came back up that says, in all caps, I am the fetus, but please let me ask on. So the fetus is admitting they're the fetus, but no, they're not coming up. Okay, go ahead.
I was kind of curious about your position on Christianity as a whole. What do you think Christianity is a force for good? In general, or on the whole, or?
So it depends on what part of Christianity are we talking about. If we're my honest view is that I believe that the early Christianity isn't the Christianity that we know today. I don't even think that Jesus was a figure in early Christianity. I believe that early Christianity was a mystery cult that worshipped a deity named Serapis. Now Serapis has a long history. Are you on TikTok at all?
Not particularly.
Okay, if you do have a TikTok account, hop on there, follow my friend Jaron. He's under the name Christ Before Jesus. Go listen to his debates. We go into a little bit more of the history of a little bit of this on that live, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But Serapis is a syncretic god that came from Greece and Egypt. Serapis was never formally adopted into the Roman pantheon. It was Serapis worship was banned in 14 CE by Octavian Augustus. Certain emperors were more strict with it, other ones were more loose with it. But I believe that the early Christians, like when we're talking about Pliny the Younger and stuff like that, are referring to this Serapis cult. I don't think they're talking about Christians as we know them today. But I believe that after the Bar Kokhba revolt is when we kind of see the metamorphosis into Christianity as we know it today. And I think that and we get this through some of the writings with the early Catholic Church. The early Catholic Church especially was extremely anti-Semitic, had some issues, and so I think that the Christian church started to be spread by the sword. It was the only way it could spread and survive was by the sword, and so I think that's when it became problematic. And I don't think the Catholic Church not the Catholic Church. I don't think Christianity as a whole is necessarily harmful, but it is the people that are like the leaders of the church who tend to be fundamentalist. Their ideology makes it dangerous. They make it harmful, and that's the reason why I feel that Christianity needs to be eradicated.
Oh, that's interesting. So, eradicate. What do you mean by that?
So I believe that when we eradicate it, I believe that we need. I don't have an issue with like teaching Christian. My view on teaching religion in school is that religion can be taught in school as long as it's like in social studies or history, some kind of class like that. We should not be teaching the religious aspects of it, only the historical aspects of it. And we need to teach them as mythology. I'm not against. And I believe that we need to take a stance that Christianity is mythology. We need to teach that it's mythology. We need to teach that Jesus never existed, that he probably never existed, and that the things that are attributed to him are nothing but mythology. I think when it comes to teaching history, we need to teach that the Bible and the Old Testament gets things wrong. When you read the Bible and you read the book of Daniel, Daniel attributes a lot of things to Nebuchadnezzar that aren't from Nebuchadnezzar. The things that Nabonidus did, we know that Nabonidus did it because we have the Nabonidus cylinder, and I think we just need to teach proper history. We do know that the Jewish people, and I'm saying this as somebody who is Jewish, the Jewish people were never enslaved in Egypt, at least not as an entire nation of Israel, right? That's not to say, could there have been Israelites that were enslaved in Egypt? Absolutely. But was there the entire nation of Israel formed in Egypt as slaves and the Exodus happened? No. And I think that we need to teach these, and we just need to teach the Bible as nothing but mythology. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think by doing this, we eradicate Christianity.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that. I'm just curious, did you grow up in the church or?
I grew up practicing Judaism.
Judaism, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Judaism.
I'm Jewish.
Oh, okay.
You might know me better as the religion that Kyle from South Park follows. We're extremely lonely on Christmas.
Do you still identify as Jewish, or?
Yes, I'm ethnically Jewish. Yes, I'm ethnically and somewhat culturally Jewish. Yes.
Okay. Culturally, well, that's interesting. So, what would you say to perhaps people in my position who appreciate Christianity symbolically and might call themselves? I think it was Richard Dawkins who recently came out and said he's a cultural Christian. Do you think we should eradicate cultural Christianity in that sense, or?
So the way you'd have to explain that is like, for example, in Judaism, like when we go into a Jewish community, no matter what Jewish community you go to, it could be Mizrahi, it could be Sephardic, it could be Ashkenaz, no matter what Jewish community you go into, being Jewish, I can go into a Jewish community regardless. And while there may be some slight differences in some of the things we do, for the most part, we're going to be lockstep in our cultural traditions and what we wear, stuff like that. For example, some of the differences might be when it comes to the tzitzits that we wear in Ashkenaz culture, we wear them hanging out. In Sephardic culture, they tuck them in. right? But we still wear them, right? However, when it comes to Christian culture, there is no like Christian culture by the mere fact that there are all these denominations of Christianity, and they can't even agree on simpler things. They can't agree on how many days Christians should be. In fact, this year alone was the first time in like I'd have to look up and see, but for quite a while, when Catholic and the Orthodox Church, their Easters finally fell on the same day, because the Catholic and Protestant and the Orthodox Church can't even agree when Easter is. And yes, synagogue services, I believe, are very similar. I can't speak too much. I don't know too crazy much about Sephardic culture. I only know a little bit that I've got from talking with Rabbi Hannah. But so when we say that there's like culturally Christian, I don't know what that means. And I don't think Christians know what being culturally Christian means either.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I have an idea,
Yeah,
but
I think that's a term that Christians are starting to use, because it is the case that we are starting to see a decline in Christianity. It is predicted that within the next 20 years, Islam is going to surpass Christianity. And I think it's a case where Christians, especially a lot of these Christian leaders, because you're not the first person that I've heard bring up cultural Christian. There was a few people in Justin's live, and I don't know if you follow the Deconstruction Zone, but there was a few other people in there that kind of mentioned this. And I think what's starting to happen is I think Christians are beginning to realize, like, not only is Christianity by itself starting to have a decline, but I think they're beginning to realize that the deconstruction movement is actually starting to have a pretty big impact, because of people such as myself, such as Justin, Mezzo, Joyful, Jaron, Thinker, Joyful Apostate, and other people, Knight here on TikTok, and Venus, that so now they are trying to look at how can we preserve this. And Judaism has survived because there is a Jewish culture that, while it's tied in with the religion, it's separate from the religion. So you think they're the same, but most Jews are atheists. I wouldn't say atheist, we're secular. Most Jews are going to be secular, but we still have our religious ties, and we still have our cultural ties, if that makes sense. Deborah's another good one. And I think Christians are trying to look to that.
yeah, and I guess I can comment on this a little bit because I'm kind of in this space a little bit with. I'm sure you're familiar with like Jordan Peterson and that type of new conservative type of space. But I think the cultural Christianity has a lot to do with the symbolic view that I've kind of presented, and I mean, just from what I've seen on like social media and like even like just Instagram, like I re-downloaded Instagram the other day and I was just seeing all these posts, you know, the algorithm. And
yeah, I think I think the only way Christianity's go, because that's the way, like the majority of Jews were secular, and so I think that is the case. Like, for example, I could even bring up religious Jews who don't believe that Moses existed. When we look at the Torah, we see that as stories that connect us. These are stories that gave us a mythological figure that during times of exile, mainly in Babylon and in other times where we had this mythological figure in Moses, in Joshua, and in a homeland, and we were able to look at these, and these united us. And so the only way that I think cultural Christianity will exist is if Christians actually come to the realization that Jesus is fake, that it is mythology, and it's the only way it'll survive is if they acknowledge that it's mythology. If not, they'll just continue to get stomped in the mud. They won't have good arguments. They'll always have horrible arguments, and it'll get to the case where any attempt of surviving it, even culturally, will just fall in deaf ears, and it'll turn into like them eradicating themselves at that point.
Yeah, as much as I want to disagree, I can't really disagree with that as someone who has a deference to Christianity. I think there is a big problem there, and yeah, you have some really good points there.
Hmm.
Um, I, maybe this is too large of a segue, but are are you an atheist or what are you?
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Okay, so I guess to tie it in, like a big reason that I've kind of drifted towards the new Christian Jordan Peterson type of sphere is my disillusionment with the atheist types like Sam Harris and those types, and they just didn't really have a compelling answers to questions that bothered me, I guess. So I'm just kind of curious. Maybe you've thought about this, maybe you haven't, but what would you say is your like? Do you have like a moral framework? Like, do you have a basis for morality? Because that's something that I think is
Yeah.
frankly just missing from kind of the atheist side of things.
Yeah. Let's look at this from two point of view. The first point of view that we're going to look at is from the atheistic view that it's subjective. Let's look at it from a subjective point of view first, right?
Yeah.
So you are aware that the Bible contains verses in which slavery and grape, and when I say grape, minus the G, right? It's that word. I just have to use it for
Yeah, yeah.
TikTok purposes. So
Right.
there are times when slavery and grape and unaliving children are objectively okay, right? Per the Bible, right? If you're a theist because you believe that God is all good, you have to accept that at some point in time, slavery, God said slavery good. Now, as an atheist, I'm not bound, or the atheist that holds subjective morality, I can perfectly say that's wrong. Slavery in all periods of time is wrong, and I want to live and build a society in which slavery is wrong. In fact, when we look at society as we have it today, it is as prosperous as it is because we have taken these barbaric and archaic laws that God says is okay, and we have said that's not okay. Slavery, not okay. We don't need it. Misogyny, we're still working on it. It has a long way to go, but we are looking at misogyny and saying that's wrong. A woman should have autonomy over her body. A woman should have every right to vote, do the job she wants. She should have every right and ability that a man has, right? And so we're seeing society progress because of this. And does that mean that there are going to be atheists that have horrible views? Absolutely. Does that mean that I have any more standing in saying I'm right than they do than to say they're right? No, we're both just as equally justified in our point of view. But what we find is that if you have an atheist who believes that, say, Schmurder is okay. Well, as soon as they are looking down the face of a barrel themselves, they are quickly going to come to our side and say, no, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that anymore. That's the subjective side. So under the religious side, especially with the Abrahamic religions, you have to accept slavery sometimes is okay. You have to buy into divine command theory, and you might be asked to do something horrific. Now, my personal view, I ground morality in empathy. And what I mean by empathy is anytime we talk about morals, I believe morals in of themselves are neither good or bad. They're neither good or bad. It depends on what exactly is going on. So if we were to take slavery, for example, I believe that we look at empathy. We need to look at both sides of the argument, which is what empathy is, the ability to look at the situation from the other people who are going to be affected, to look at it from their point of view, to listen to their arguments. And so if we take like slavery, and if I employ empathy, I'm going to realize if I'm in their shoes, I don't want to be a slave. I don't know of anybody who wants to be a slave, and all arguments get considered, slavery is bad. And I can ground that in empathy. I believe empathy is transcendental. And people who do not act in empathy are that because they're unwilling to listen to the other side of an argument. If they're unwilling to listen to the other side of the argument, they're irrational. Thus, they're just wrong.
Okay, that makes sense. So, just to kind of go back to the beginning of that whole section, you're talking about slavery and grape and other things being justified by the Bible, the God of the Bible. The explanation that I've heard for these things, or I guess the like apologism that I've heard of for these things, is that wasn't expressly like justified by God or pushed by God. It was that, first of all, some of these things are like stories of the Bibles, like like there was a story about slavery, and then that gets construed as God was justifying that. And another example would be that basically slavery was ubiquitous at the time, and so
So the issues that you run into with these, so the issues that you're going to run into these, and let's tackle the first one first, is that like it doesn't actually, like, it's hyperbole or it's just a story. Well, the issue that you got to run into then is if it's just a story, right? Well, once you knock down that first domino, that it's just a story, where does that domino stop, right? You've set up a chain of events. Where does that stop? Is David just a story? Is Solomon just a story? Is Daniel just a story? These all just metaphors, right? So you have a domino chain that goes down. But then you also then have to ask is, well, why then would God say that slavery is okay then? If it's just a story, God could have said, hey, don't practice slavery, it's wrong. There's no reason to use it as a story. It just turns into kind of ridiculousness there. And that's probably like the worst apologetic I've ever heard. Now, if it turns into a case where they like try to say, because the most common argument is they'll try to say that slavery doesn't mean slavery, it means indentured servitude. Well, that's not true. If you go to, and you're not going to be able to see these, and I'll just read these, I'm not even going to bring them up on screen real quick, but if you go to Leviticus 21, it straight up talks about how you can beat your slaves, and as long as they survive a day or two, there's no punishment because they are your property. It talks about how the male Hebrew slaves, they're going to serve 6 years, but in the 7th, they go out a free person. And then it explains how women, if a man sells his daughter as a slave, she doesn't go out as the male slaves do, so she doesn't go out on that 7th year. It is the case that, let's say I'm this male Hebrew slave, I sell myself to you, and you decide you want more slaves, so you can give me a wife. And it says, but if a master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. Which means that you can get all the free slaves off of me and the wife that you give me that you want. And then once you go into Leviticus 25, Leviticus 25 makes it clear, starting in verse 39, that there is a clear distinction between the indentured servants or the bound laborers, who are only the Israelites, and the slaves of other nations. It states, that the Israelites, it says, you shall not make them serve as slaves. They shall remain with you as hired or bound laborers. They shall serve with you until the year of the Jubilee. For they are my servants who I brought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as slaves. Whereas with the people of other nations, as for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from the aliens residing with you and from your families who are with you, who have been born in your land. They may be your property. So keep in mind, so it says, they may be slaves. The Israelites are not slaves. These may be your property. The Israelites are not to be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. The bound laborers, they go free every 7 years. They're not property. They're not passed down. And these you may treat as slaves, whereas the Israelites, these you may not treat as slaves. So it makes it clear the distinction between indentured servitude and chattel slavery. It makes the clear distinction. And anybody that tries to say it's like metaphor, for what? What's it metaphor for? Like, they're ignoring scripture, that they're just cherry picking, and it's horrible apologetics.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the
Yep.
thing that kind of ties it together for me, as far as like I can look past that stuff, as horrible as that sounds on the surface, is the New Testament. For me, the New Testament kind of puts everything into perspective, and I think this is kind of along the lines of what Christians would say, at least Protestants maybe. But
Can you
if you
find
just
me?
look at the New Testament, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you find me a verse in the New Testament that outright says slavery, don't do slavery anymore? Could you find me that scripture?
I don't think it exists, but if
It
you
doesn't
look at,
exist.
I think the point is to look at the spirit of the text. I think there's a verse that's like, if you, the word of the text is dead, and like the spirit of the text is alive, something along those lines. That's really.
Have you read
me.
Matthew 5?
Maybe I'll give it a look.
Yeah, so Matthew 5 is a Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is up there giving a sermon. And do you have a set of scriptures with you?
I've got my browser open, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so if you go to Matthew 5, and if you've got your browser, I'll be able to
I got it here.
open this up. So we're going to go to Matthew 5 and go to verse 17. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, you're going to read, because what Christians will like to do is they'll act like Jesus got rid of the law, but it's wrong. It says, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. Oh, hold up. He says, I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Now, what you're going to get is a lot of Christians will say, but this fulfill, but to fulfill. And they'll sit there and then they'll treat that like that means to get rid of the law. But it doesn't, because he says right above, I have come not to abolish the law. So if fulfill suddenly means to get rid of the law, well, we just have a clear contradiction. And I don't think there's a contradiction here. I think what Jesus is saying here is, hey, I'm not here to get rid of the law. I'm here to follow the law. Because it is during this time period when we start to see rabbinic Judaism making its appearance. And what rabbinic Judaism is where it really took off after the destruction of the temple, but it is a case where the Pharisees started to realize that the Torah is problematic. There's things that they're like, we probably like this virginity test. This virginity test is horrible. It's no way to see if somebody's a virgin. It's ridiculous. So the Pharisees wanted to get as far away from the Torah as they could, so they started building fences around it. And this is where Jesus is saying, no. I'm here to fulfill the law. We're going to follow the law. So he said, I'm not here to get rid of the law. I'm here to follow the law. And that's why you'll read later on where he starts chastising the Pharisees in this, is he's saying, no, we're going to follow the law. We're not going to get rid of it like the Pharisees are trying to do. We're going to follow it. That's what Jesus is saying here. And he goes on to say, until heaven and earth, and we're going to do this until heaven and earth pass away. That's important because Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, right? So this is essentially saying until creation is done, until there's no need for creation anymore, essentially his second coming. Not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen Hebrew, but Hebrew is very easy, if you're not paying attention, to accidentally make one letter look like a different letter. It's extremely easy to do that. And so this is saying, be very careful about how you write these down, because it's easy to screw up the law. And that's what he's saying. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. So this is Jesus supporting the old law, correct?
So, verse 17, that's Jesus speaking.
Yes.
Is that correct?
All of this, yeah. This is all the Sermon on the Mount.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, see, I have always had trouble with this verse, and I'm glad you brought it up because, yeah, I don't know how to level that, but I found the verse that I was thinking of. It's 2 Corinthians 3 verse 6. It is, he has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life.
Well, Paul lies.
That seems to be...
It contradicts Jesus, right? Yeah, go to Mark 7 real quick. Yeah, go to Mark 7 real quick. Yep. Here is going to be where the Pharisees are like, hey, have you washed your hands? And Jesus is like, hey, have you stoned your kids? It's essentially what Jesus says here.
Mark 7.
So, we'll start in verse 1. So just to paraphrase, we're going to go from verse 1 and we're going to end on verse 13. So verse 1, essentially what's happening is the Pharisees have introduced this tradition of hand washing. Hand washing is not found in Torah. It's not in Torah anywhere. The Pharisees introduced it though. Again, it's building a wall against following Torah, because Torah has there's kosher laws about what you can eat, and the fear is that if I accidentally touch something that's not, or let's say you touch something that's not kosher, and then I don't, like for example, let's say you touch my Monster can and your hands aren't kosher, and I don't know that. And so whatever's on my Monster can is now not kosher. And then I touch it. Well, now whatever's on my hand is not kosher. And then I go to eat. Well, now I'm putting the non-kosherness that was on your hand in my mouth. And I'm eating what's not kosher. So the idea is, hey, just wash your hands. If you wash your hands, you're good. And Tenebris over on YouTube can definitely tell you hand washing in Judaism it is a pain. You wash your hands different ways for different things, and you're doing it at least 6 times without soap, with just water from a special basin. It's wild. So in this, it's talking about where the Pharisees notice that Jesus and his disciples are not washing their hands, and they go and they try to chastise him about it. And verse 6. He said to them, Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites. As it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandments of God to hold the human tradition. Then he said to them, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandments of God in order to keep your tradition. For Moses said, honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father or mother must surely die. So right there in verse 9 and 10, he's quoting the Old Testament. That is an Old Testament law that Jesus is quoting. Verse 11, but you say that if anyone tells father or mother, whatever support you might have had from me is Corban, that is an offering to God, then you no longer permit, and that Corban is strictly rabbinic. That's not found in Torah. That's a rabbinic thing. So it's a human tradition. then you no longer permit doing anything for father or mother, thus nullifying the word of God through your traditions that you have handed on, and you do many things like this. So what Jesus is saying is, hey, these human traditions that you're doing them because you think you're worshiping God, but you're nullifying God. So don't do them. Follow the law. So we have Matthew 5, follow the law. Mark 7, follow the law. And then we get Paul saying, yeah, Jesus, fuck what Jesus said. I don't care what Jesus said. The law doesn't matter no more.
Well, that's interesting.
Because Paul contradicts Jesus quite a bit.
Yeah, I will definitely have to look further into this.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the talk.
Yeah, not a problem. And hey, like I said, get on YouTube, or not on YouTube, get on TikTok, do this. Go in my description. I think you'll find a lot of awesome resources. Go into my description on YouTube. You will find a link to the Deconstruction Junction Discord. Go in there. There's a lot of awesome resources. And there'll be a new community in there for you to interact with, and they'll be able to answer a lot of your questions as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, not a problem.
Have a good night.
Yep, let's give T-Fizzle some massive W's. That was refreshing. I'm going to bring Hanji up now. If Hanji's still here. Hanji, can you leave a comment? And I'll bring you in. There we go. There's Hanji.
Hello. Sorry,
Hello.
I'm just getting. I got home late celebrating Mother's Day with the little one.
Hey, it's Mother's Day. Happy, everybody. Let's put W Mothers in chat. Both chats. I want to see both chats filled with W Mothers for Mother's Day.
Yes,
And did you have a good
yes.
Mother's Day, though?
I did. I treated the little one and me to some Wingstop.
Isn't that supposed to be? Wait. And you don't, obviously you don't have to share this online, but how old is your
Gonna
little one?
be 6 in July.
Oh yeah, according to China, she's old enough to work, so shouldn't she have been taking you out?
Listen, she always tells me, "Mommy, I'm rich." I'm like, "Yeah, you are. Manifest, manifest." Oh, they're saying panel is loud. You're quiet.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you turned down. All right, that should be better.
All right. How about now, Joe? Does that sound better?
Let me opening up the audio mixer. That should be better. Did that not fix it? What other setting do I gotta change? It's not TikTok, it's OBS. Oh, yeah?
archaeological evidence, and it would have been significantly different now than back then. And how the Last Supper, where it was supposed to have happened in some section of the temple, I think it was, they don't have no archaeological evidence for that.
Hold on real quick. YouTube, could you hear Hanji at all? Because I just turned on my volume. Let's see. Hold on. Hanji, say something real quick.
Something real quick. Well, come on, chat. That was funny.
Okay, I got that fixed. So, yeah, when I mess with your volume, I've got to do it through TikTok. Yeah. Because it's
around a little bit.
Yeah, it's your volume on TikTok.
Boo.
That's what I say. Boo. So I've had this absolute fetus, pop up on Video Ninja like 10 times. And now they're being honest. They actually came up with, I am the fetus, but please let me ask on, and that's as long as it would let them. They clipped out with their letters, and I'm just leaving them in there. Like, they're not coming up. Like, I don't want to talk to children.
Why don't they ever understand consent? Like, at the...
Especially the fetuses. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and T-Fizzle, thank you for coming up. Again, everybody, let's give T-Fizzle some massive W's. That was super respectful. Had a lot of good questions, and hopefully I was able to answer them.
I think I caught somewhat deconstruction in the process.
Yeah, so his main thing is he struggles with the scripture, and it's a term that I've been hearing new lately. I don't know how old it is, but something I heard a few times on Justin's live today. I've heard in a few other lives where there's like this new cultural Christian. So it's the idea that they, like in his case, he doesn't necessarily want to believe in Christianity, like the idea that these are just myths. Like, he's perfectly okay with that. Like, believing it's mythology, that's fine. But again, it's the idea of like dropping it completely is difficult. So like holding it culturally.
Huh. I mean, to be honest, if anyone were to really hold it culturally, not to toot my own horn here, but technically
it'd be the Romans.
The Romans, yeah. If we're being, technical here, that's just by history standards.
Oh yeah, well we're gonna see if Fricklenberg will come up. We'll send them a request. He's talking about like apostolic succession. So the issue with apostolic succession, I'll just say it now. The issue with apostolic succession is one, you'll hear where a lot of the early church fathers will actually refer to Paul as the apostle to the heretics. Like, they didn't like Paul. And you don't have a single church father, name one church father, who points to Paul and says, that's my apostolic tradition there, Paul. They don't. None of them do. Their apostolic tradition will always come from normally John and Peter. Those are normally who it comes through. But we have evidence in the scriptures that Paul, Peter, and John were at odds with each other. They didn't agree. They didn't like each other. And so, but what we see with apostolic succession is that if you go to the early church fathers, and you were try to mention to them, because the purpose of apostolic succession is the idea that the gospels were passed orally. That's the idea. But if you were to go to any of the early church fathers and mention, like if you were to go to Polycarp, if you went to Polycarp and told Polycarp that the gospels were written around 70, he would slap the shit out of you. He would absolutely like slap the shit out of you and be like, no, they were written like at the time, like shortly after, like within a decade after. And so there's no need for apostolic succession. But as it became clear that the later church wasn't able to agree on things, they couldn't even agree whether or not Jesus was divine or not, right? Was Jesus divine? Was he human? They couldn't agree on this, which is a problem of its own, but they couldn't agree. And so once they started to have these councils in order to come to an understanding, then they had to explain for the rest of the church, why do we need to have all these councils? What? Oh, apostolic succession. It's because the apostles that he learned from maybe told him something slightly different. And so then it became a dick measuring contest for which apostle had the bigger zits, and that's who they were going to follow.
And then that's when you cue the Orthodoxy versus the Catholic Church.
Yep, and even to this day, the Orthodox and the Catholic Church cannot even agree when Easter is. They can't agree. This year was the first year, just based on both of their traditions, it's the first year that Easter actually fell on the same day, according to both traditions, in a long, long time, because they can't agree.
Yeah, a lot of them were they were like, oh shit, wait, that's this Sunday.
Yeah.
We're just like, wait.
Yeah, Fricklenberg, exactly, agreeing on lore. Like for example, as you read, up there, you'll read where Nicholas mentioned Arius. Yeah, there was a person named Arius who was teaching that Jesus wasn't divine, that Jesus was like the idea of Jesus, the person, the spiritual side was created, whereas the Catholic Church believed Jesus has always existed, and that's what the early church father wanted. They, as far as being Trinitarian, all in one and all that, and they couldn't even agree. So that's the whole purpose of the First Nicene Council. The First Nicene Council was literally to settle Jesus is divine. And as the story goes, it looked like it might have been going to Jesus not being divine. So the story says that Saint Nicholas, yes, jolly old Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus, the man who you guys let down your chimneys every year, walked across, slapped the holy matzo balls right off of Arius, made the sonic rings fly everywhere, and he took one sonic ring, shoved it in his mouth so he didn't unalive. And that's when they decided that, yeah, we're going to change our vote and Jesus is now divine.
Never made sense to me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, even as late as Justin, or not Justin Martyr, even as late as Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas, like, believed we should still be circumcising. But yeah, like even Justin Martyr, though, like even Justin Martyr, at the time of Justin Martyr, they were still debating whether or not circumcision needed to be a thing. But if Paul was already written, if Paul existed, it should have been settled. There should be no reason, even during the time of Justin Martyr, for them to be discussing circumcision. Paul should have settled it already.
You want to know my gripe with circumcision, not just because you are literally removing something that is like given to you without consent, but also I thought God's creation was perfect. Why are you removing part of his creation?
Oh, it's because of the fall.
What the fuck?
Yeah, after the fall, God became extremely concerned about docking, so he wanted to make sure they couldn't dock.
And I also find it funny how everyone's just like, oh, well, the Nephilim this and the Nephilim that. I thought they didn't have body parts down there. So which is it? Are they packing or not? I need answers. Were they
Right.
hot? I'd smash. Have you seen the fucking AI images of Archangel Michael? God damn! Smash.
Yeah, real quick over on YouTube, Tenebris. That's what I would say. Okay, here's always been my thing. For being a member of God's chosen people, it sucks. Like, you would have thought that God would have been like, hey, my chosen people, you're circumcised. Boom, just done. It's done. No, you gotta go through this whole ritual with a special knife, with a rabbi, after you're 8 days old. Like, it's a whole thing.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Cyber. You guys have been fucked from the get-go, even by your own deity. Like, you guys can't catch a break for shit.
He couldn't even give us a courtesy spit. Why? Because he doesn't have a body. He couldn't spit if he wanted to.
The Holy Spirit hock to it.
Hock to it.
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing about that. That shit was funny. Just like Yahweh biting his bottom lip while rubbing his fucking hands together. Just like, oh yeah, these are the fuckers.
Right. Anyways, I think we may have people have been running out of guests pretty early today. Hanji, should I do another quick? Because I only on YouTube right now have 43 people. We have 90 people on TikTok, but I don't have anybody coming up. Should we do a quick restart, Hanji?
Do a quick restart just to push you back on the algorithm and see if that changes anything. It's like 30 minutes in the hour, so I don't know if that's... I don't know if time helps or does... I don't know.
Hanji. Oh, yeah. Hanji, I do have somebody you actually want to meet, though.
Oh, God, here we go.
I gotta be careful about playing those sounds. A couple weeks ago, I played a clip from My Little Pony, and it got that live restricted. It got it demonetized, so I had to go in and edit that part out. All right, we've got TikTok restarted. Probably be live here for probably another half hour. YouTube, do you think I should do a quick restart on YouTube as well? I can have it up and running in like less than a minute. But should I do a restart on YouTube as well? Maybe we'll get some people coming in that way. Oh, Hanji, you're not supposed to be on the panel. You're supposed to be meeting my friend.
Hey.
And Smokey Jesus, we love you too. All right, I'm going to be right back, Hanji. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the YouTube stream. I'm going to restart it. So if you want to keep chat entertained for like 30 seconds while I do this.
Yeah, I could do that. I'm known for that. Hey, AK. I saw you. We're doing a quick restart. Right now, we're just trying to see if doing the restart on the UB2Bs will help also. But be sure to check out our links for the disco and for our YouTubes as well. Joe,